Welcome everybody to the formulajonah YouTube channel, and it's good to be back live streaming once again. Today we're talking about the upcoming Lone Star Le Mans event at COTA, of course. The next WEC round is here, and I'm formulajonah, your host, and joining me once again is David from Denmark. Welcome, David, to another live stream here. We are going back into this, and it's good to be back streaming, but what are your thoughts coming into this event? We are here finally, round 6. Lone Star Le Mans has returned. Is it good to be back doing live streams covering the WEC?
Well, yeah, it obviously is. I mean, last time it was breaking news, and this time it's more prepared news. So yeah, I'm happy to be back. Also, a bit sad that we're coming to the business end of the season, because let's be honest, we are. But yeah, always awesome to have a race weekend and another stream and multiple streams coming. So always nice to stream.
For sure, and yeah, there's just 3 rounds left of the season, viewers. We are here at COTA for the Lone Star Le Mans, of course, and then we're heading to Fuji for round 7, and then rounding off the season is going to be the race in Bahrain for the 8-hour event, of course. But yeah, we're getting towards that end of the season. We're starting to talk about the championship as well, which we will probably get into in this live stream as well. But yeah, David, welcome back. Thank you so much for joining me once again. And we will also be discussing our future plans for a few more live streams that we're going to be doing coming up. But viewers, welcome to the live stream so far. We're about 5 minutes into this, and I'm just kind of seeing a few people join the stream so far. We'll let that number continue to go up. But yeah, welcome. Send down your questions, your thoughts, everything down in the comments below if you have anything to point out. As we head into this pre-race details, this preview sort of live stream, we're discussing everything on the event in COTA. So first off, I think we should probably talk about the fact that we are back in Texas, and specifically the Circuit of the Americas, for the first time in around 4 years. David, the last event here was in 2020. I remember watching this race live, and it was a very different race compared to where we are now in the championship. I actually just recently made a video talking about that event, and while making it, I kind of thought like, wow, what a different era we are in now compared to where we were in the 2020 event.
Yeah. I mean, back then it was Toyota and a rebellion fighting for wins. It was a completely different era to what we're used to now. It was pre-Hypercar, like trying to have this this end of LMP1 and hoping that it could change, but it couldn't. We had some okay racing, but in the end it was Toyota dominance. So also exciting to see good racing and close racing with loads of cars in the top class at this track, because last time, of course, it was quite a different era and quite a different top class we had.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's only 3 cars in the top category last time out in Lone Star Le Mans. We come into this event with 18. How big is that? That is amazing. 8 manufacturers in the top category compared to 1 last time out in 2020, just symbolizing the fact that WEC has grown quite a bit and has changed quite a bit since we were last here. But yeah, speaking of the entry list, speaking of 18 cars in the Hypercar class, and actually let me just point out, we have 18 cars in Hypercar, we have 18 in LMGT3 for a combined total of 36 cars for Lone Star Le Mans. But speaking of the entry list, and this is something that people are pointing out in the comments as well and talking about, Isotta Fraschini. We got to talk about them. We made a whole live stream, David. Just recently, you mentioned that we were we were scrambling to get on to talk about the breaking news that Isotta Fraschini would be pulling out of the WEC temporarily. Honestly, I'm still in shock over the news to this day. But the biggest change heading into this event in terms of the entry list is that Isotta Fraschini, the manufacturer, the car, the Tipo 6 LMHC, is not on the grid. What used to be a 19-car grid in the Hypercar class is now an 18-car field with the removal of that entry. David, coming back from these couple days we've had since the announcement came out, what are your thoughts as we head into COTA now missing a manufacturer?
Well, to be honest, it isn't changing that much. Isotta was at the back of the field. Of course, it's a fan favorite. We all love them and want to see them on the grid. But in terms of competition, it doesn't change that much.
True.
But yeah, it's one less car on the track. That's always bad news. It's something that we're actually used to seeing here in the build-up of this Hypercar class, that some races there is more cars and some races there's less cars. It has been quite a stable season in terms of that this year, but we saw it as well with Peugeot the other way around, where they came in at Monza and all of a sudden we had two more cars. So seeing the grid lineup change and only change one time this year is nice. And when it's not a extremely competitive team, like let's say it was Toyota having troubles, that was a completely different deal. So yeah, hoping they will come back. We talked about this last time as well.
Right.
But yeah, in terms of the race this weekend and to focus on that, it doesn't change that much.
Yeah, you make a good point there, and I think that I echo your words that we hope to see Isotta back. Actually, we've got some news recently that they are looking to return, so there is a hope that that Isotta Fraschini will be back as early as 2025, according to Sports Car 365 and Michelotto. Actually, there's an 80% chance that Isotta Fraschini will be on the grid next season. So. But that's, of course, just one source. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. And then with Van Wall coming in, Aston Martin coming in, of course, that's a whole nother subject for a video, though. We are getting to the main subject, though. We got to get back to that. COTA, the Circuit of the Americas. Let's talk about this track now. So this is a circuit that was opened in 2012, October 21st of 2012, actually. It's a circuit that has hosted many races, not just in the WEC. The first Lone Star Le Mans was back in 2013, and I believe Audi won that race with Tom Christensen, Alan McNish, and Loic Duval in that number 2 Audi, if I'm not mistaken. And the Lone Star Le Mans has happened a couple of times since. We raced here consecutively until 2017. And then came back for a one-off appearance in 2020 when Rebellion actually won that event. Surprise, surprise, of course. And then, yeah, but Circuit of the Americas, it's quite the interesting track. You know, it's famed for its elevation changes. It's a track with 20 turns, with around a 3.4 mile circuit in length. But yeah, it's quite interesting for sure. The Circuit of the Americas. It's a circuit that has just kind of come into the world. You know, we have other tracks like, for example, Sao Paulo and Interlagos, where that circuit's been around for quite some time, where we just last raced in the WEC. But this one just kind of recently opened, just around 11 or so years ago. So it's definitely good. And then also, Circuit of the Americas is also the home to the Formula One Grand Prix. That's usually held in October, the United States Grand Prix, which has been coming to that track for a couple of years now, since 2012. And yeah, it's great to see that the WEC is back in COTA. You know, it's a track that I really like as a fan of motorsports. It's a unique track with, like I said, a lot of elevation changes. One of the steepest inclines to turn one I think we've ever seen in motorsport. One of, at least. So yeah, it's definitely great to see the WEC back at such an iconic track like COTA.
Yeah, absolutely, Jonah. It's a track that's downforce heavy.
Right.
Lots of high-speed corners. So competitively, it's also something different that when we have seen in the start of the season, where we had high speed and straight line straight line speed be the most important parts of the race. So it's going to be a different race than, for example, what we saw at Qatar. But yeah, awesome to see the track back. I remember great racing from this track. So yeah, also exciting to see what these hypercars can do at it. Of course, this is the first time we're going to see those cars race at this track. So it's going to be something new. And seeing these now, we're gonna talk about this, but it's a track that reminds people a bit of Sao Paulo with the elevation changes. So are we gonna see a race that reminds of a bit of Brazil, or is it gonna be a different kind of result? It's gonna be exciting to see that.
Yeah, for sure. There's a lot of excitement in the air coming into this race, and a lot of storylines, I guess, to head into this one as well. But yeah, we'll definitely see how this goes. And I was just thinking as well, out of all the teams that are competing in the top class, only one has competed at this track before in the WEC, and that was Toyota Gazoo Racing back in 2020, of course. So yeah, not a lot of experience when it comes to the top teams. But then again, most, including Toyota, will have limited experience considering, like you said, David, the hypercars have never been here. And so has the LMGT3. They've never been to this track, really, in terms of the WEC, at least. So we're kind of flying into the unknown. And that's what kind of makes this interesting, is that we don't know exactly who's going to be on top. Where a track like, for example, Fuji, we know more of what cars are going to be pretty quick. We know that Porsche is likely going to be pretty quick at Fuji. So there's a difference for sure. Also, this is something I'm seeing, actually, to be honest, more so than previous rounds. The fact that there are a lot of folks that are actually heading to this event in person. I've been seeing this in the live chat. There's a couple people that are actually saying that they're going to the track. And I've got this on a few comments. I got a few people that have messaged me saying that they're actually going to the track. Is this a track that kind of brings people in more so than other tracks, I guess?
Well, it's the American audience.
That's true.
It's always been great at coming to these events. COTA is normally, when we see Formula One and MotoGP and stuff like that, a track with lots of people attending. So yeah. But I feel like this could also be our audience, the Americans, talking about this hyped up. This is Lone Star. Right. Coming back. We also saw a lot of people at Sao Paulo, so it's not unusual to see this hype, especially not no hate, but Americans are really good at these events. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of hype and a lot of things going on this weekend. But that only brings something new to WEC. And we're gonna. I believe we're gonna see a lot of people at Fuji as well. It's only at Qatar and Bahrain. I don't expect many people. So yeah, these races, a lot of audience, and that just is a part of racing, and also what we love about it.
You said it well, and I think that it's amazing to see so many people going to the WEC races. Honestly, more so than previously. You know, I think that's mainly because of the massive the massive upbringing that the WEC has had in recent years with the arrival of Hypercar, the arrival of LMGT3, and the championship has just grown in general. And to see that the WEC is moving to a track that's very famous. It's also, geographically, it's also in a great spot considering it's kind of in the middle of the U.S., more so south, because it's, of course, in Texas. But that also allows people from kind of all over to come to this track and meet for this incredible event. Let us know if you're heading to the event. I've already seen a couple of people in the comment section say that they're heading. But yeah, please let us know if you're going to the event. We'd love to see the continuation of that. Honestly, me as an American, I think I'll be heading to COTA at least once. I hope to be heading there maybe next year. We'll see. I was going to try for 2024, but things came up. It was just not possible. So maybe in 2025 I'll be heading to Texas for the event. First WEC race for me, if that's the case. But heading into this event, we of course have the return of Lone Star Le Mans. We have the change with the Isotta Fraschini, of course, not being on the grid. A lot of storylines coming into this event. Of course, Toyota coming back from a win at Sao Paulo, their second of the season. Just proving why the hypercar class is so competitive in 2024. Of course, we've had Ferrari win, we've had Porsche win twice. So the question I have is who is going to be on top this time round? And I think this kind of neatly brings us into our next subject. Unfortunately, we don't have the graphic for this, but we can talk about it. Balance of performance. This is a major factor when it comes to endurance racing, especially in this super competitive era of the World Endurance Championship. Heading into this event, we know for a fact that Lamborghini will have the best car when it comes to BOP. They have the lightest car, they have the most powerful car, and on the flip side, Toyota has the heaviest car and they have the least powerful car. So this kind of brings me into this zone that maybe Toyota are not going to be as competitive as they were in Sao Paulo. David, you did mention a moment ago that there is some similarities between Brazil or Sao Paulo, Interlagos, and the United States Grand Prix, or at least the Circuit of the Americas. There's some similarities between the two tracks. Because there are some similarities, and because Toyota was pretty competitive in Sao Paulo and BOP worked in their favor, will they have a little bit of an ability to challenge for wins, or will the BOP kind of hold them back and make them not as competitive as they were in Sao Paulo?
Well, if there's one thing I've learned over this last year is that you can never count Toyota out. Even at the first race of the season where qualifying went terrible for Toyotas, they still were fighting for a great result. We saw it at Le Mans, bad qualifying, great race pace. So I would never count them out. Of course, coming off a win in Sao Paulo and coming to this track, a track they have raced at before.
Right.
Same thing with Sao Paulo. They also have been there before. Many of the new other teams hadn't. So, yeah, they have an advantage in that way. Toyota is also an extremely well-oiled team. They know what they're doing. So I expect them to be up in the top fight every single time. No matter what BOP says, it's a car that's always competitive. So I wouldn't read too much into BOP in that way. There will always be the fastest cars up in the top, but it's more interesting to see some of the other teams, like you said, Lamborghini. What can they produce now with the best car in terms of BOP, and also Peugeot?
Right.
What can they do at this track? Downforce is really a strong point for them. These elevation changes, it's really good for them. So, what can they do in this at this track? It's going to be exciting.
Yeah, for sure. And that's a subject that I did want to mention, Peugeot, the 9X8 Hypercar. This is a car that hasn't had good luck this year. Arguably, Sao Paulo was their best race of the season, where they achieved a pretty good, decent result with the number 93 car. That entry, well, actually, when I say that, it's not Sao Paulo was the best race for the new car. Let me just point that out. I'd say Qatar was the best race for Peugeot in general, but of course they had that issue at the very end, and that was a completely different car, really. So they haven't had good luck this year. It hasn't been Peugeot's year. Can we see a better result in COTA? I personally think so. I think that the BOP is helping them out. They have lost around 14 kilograms of weight when it comes to the BOP. That's really good for them. They're also pretty good on power. And I think that this track, like David, you mentioned, the elevation changes are going to suit them. Going back to a previous event in 2023, which was the 6 hours of Portimao, that was a track that really suited the 9X8 Hypercar. The elevation changes really suited them. And I think that Peugeot, with similar elevation changes here at COTA, at least at turn one and through the first sector, will benefit the French manufacturer. And I think they'll be able to have a little bit better race coming into this one. And I think we should probably talk about Cadillac as well, and specifically the American manufacturers. This is an American round, of course, for the United States of America. We have 3 brands on the grid, technically 2 if you count General Motors as a whole, but we have Cadillac, we have Chevrolet, and we have Ford, competing across the competing across the 2 categories. Cadillac, of course, and Chevrolet are under the GM banner, but in general, there is 3 manufacturers. Will Cadillac be able to secure a fantastic result? I was just talking about how Peugeot has had a pretty difficult season. Cadillac as well has also had a pretty difficult season. And these are 2 manufacturers that are coming off of their technically second full season in the WEC, or first full season in the WEC coming out of 2023. So they need a good result. They need a good result to show the likes of BMW, to show the likes of Alpine, that they have the experience, and show them that they can be able to challenge the likes of the top 3 manufacturers of Porsche, Ferrari, and Toyota. So will Cadillac be able to deliver on home soil, David?
I would never, again, I'm just repeating myself, I would never count them out, but with Cadillac this season, it has been quite weird to, if you follow both IMSA and WEC,
Right.
watching them being extremely fast and up at the top almost every single time in IMSA, and then struggling in the WEC with the same car, the same team, Chip Ganassi. So there is something about that Cadillac and international races. So maybe coming home to America and racing in the States is what they needed to get a good result. Although I would say at Le Mans, they had a fast car. They were fighting for pole position. They were fighting in the race in general. I would say they have improved a lot this year. But also remember, it's a new team next year. Is COTA taking over next year? Will this be Chip Ganassi's way of saying goodbye, like struggling in the WEC, or will they try to get that first win for them in the WEC? I hope so. It could be fun. I love that sound, the sound of that car, and also seeing Chip Ganassi win WEC again in WEC, but also in the top class this time could be really, really nice. But there's so many other competitors I see, so it's gonna be tough for them. But again, they could do it. They have shown good pace in the States this year, so let's see.
I think a good send-off for Chip Ganassi Racing as the Cadillac partner would be to get a podium at COTA. I think that would be the best case scenario. Also, I wouldn't count them out from a good result at Bahrain in the final round, viewers, because they proved pretty good pace in Bahrain last year with the V Series R, qualifying third in the hands of Alex Lynn, if I'm not mistaken. But of course, it got a penalty, it got damaged at the start with the contact with the number 7 Toyota. So their race kind of got ruined. But I definitely expect them to be a little quicker in Bahrain as well. But yeah, in general, Cadillac has not had the season that they would have hoped for, I'm sure. IMSA, if you look over in the GTP category as well, they have had stronger results. They have got 1 win this season at Long Beach. And arguably could have had many more wins this season. The Cadillac has proved to probably be the fastest car across the full season. They've been very consistent on pace. You look to Daytona, Sebring, Long Beach, Laguna Seca, those first 4 rounds in general, they were very, very quick, had a very strong car. Probably the fastest car, in my opinion, actually. So yeah, it's definitely not been their season. And also, Cadillac has proven that their goals has been IMSA and Le Mans. Not the rest of the WEC. Of course, they are racing in the WEC, and they plan on getting good results there. But their focus has been on the American races and as well as the 24 hours of Le Mans. But anyway, moving on, while we're talking about where we see some of these brands in the top class and across the other class as well, I think this is probably a good time to talk about our predictions, David. We have already gone through and predicted who we think will finish in the top three of both classes. So we're going to put those graphics out on screen, and I guess we'll start off with the LMGT3 grid. And while we're doing this, viewers, please let us know who you think will take the win or the top three positions in LMGT3 and in Hypercar. Love to hear what you all think about who will take the good results, I guess, in the WEC. But David, do you want to start off with your LMGT3 prediction, and then we'll go from there?
Yes, 2 seconds. I just need to find them. I believe I put Ferrari first, right?
Yes, I believe you did. I'm going to put the graphic out on screen now. I'm going to remove our names as well so we can see that. Yeah, so here's your prediction. Do you want to say it, I guess?
Yeah. The Vista A, of course, 54 Ferrari winning the race, followed by the BMW 46 and the Iron Dames in third place. Of course, we all know that when I'm predicting, I'm getting it right. So this is going to be the final result. You don't have to watch the race. But I really believe that Ferrari is going to win this. Some would be surprised not to see a single Porsche up there. But I wanted to go with my gut and say that BMW is going to be up there fighting. I love Alexander Rossi, and he's been doing really well with that car this year. Iron Dames, that's purely what I want to see. I don't believe that if I'm thinking logically, that they will be able to do it. They have not had the season they wanted, but I will never count them out with their qualifying pace and in general their fighting spirit. But yeah, Ferrari and BMW being really great this year, and now having that Iron Dames car up there, hopefully will be the result this weekend.
I like that prediction, and I do think that Ferrari are going to be quick as well here at the WEC round in the LMGT3 class, and I think that what you have as well for second and third is exactly what I want to see as well. Rossi in the 46 BMW, another podium would be great for them, and the Iron Dames, if we can get them back on the podium, that would be really great. They need a good result. It has not been their season. You look back to Sao Paulo, they were in a position to win that race. You look back to Spa, they were also in a really good position to win that race with Sarabovi leading the first couple of hours, I want to say. I think the first 2 hours they led that race. And I mean, with that pairing, they have a strong driver lineup. They have an ability to win, as proven at the 8 hours of Bahrain last time out with their Porsche entry. So it'd be great to see Iron Dames back up there. They need a good result. They need a good result after a pretty difficult season for them. But we'll see. We'll see how that goes. So I guess I'll head into my prediction, and we'll see how that goes. So for me, I have picked the number 27 Heart of Racing Aston Martin for the win in LMGT3. I feel that Aston Martin are going to have a really good weekend. And I've put a BMW in second, but it's not the 46, it's the 31, the car that won in Imola last time in as we head to Italy. And then in third, I've put the number 91 Porsche EMA or Manthey EMA Porsche. So this is a different lineup, of course, compared to what you have done. You put Ferrari as the winner. I've put Aston Martin as the winner. But I feel that Aston's got a really strong car. They need a win. I think it's time that we finally see another manufacturer besides Porsche take an overall victory in LMGT3. It's been a Porsche victory in every single race except Imola, with BMW taking the victory. But I think it's finally time that we see somebody different than Porsche and BMW on top. But I definitely think that BMW and Porsche are still going to have strong cars here. But I also think that Porsche won't have the best car, and that's partly because of the BOP. You know, this car has been affected negatively on the BOP for this race. They've gained a lot of weight, And so I don't know. I have a feeling that it's not going to be a Porsche win here at COTA. But honestly, I feel like that's probably gonna happen. I bet Porsche are gonna take the win just because I said that. But we'll see. We'll see how that goes. So those are our predictions. I've predicted the number 27 Aston Martin on top, and David has predicted the number 54 AF Corsa Ferrari on top. In the comments, we're seeing a few predictions as well. Some are saying BMW for a win. Some are saying Porsche 1-2. William pointed that out. Porsche 1-2. I could definitely see that. Like I said, I've predicted Porsche not to have a win here, but that could honestly change. But yeah, I guess we'll move on if there's no more thoughts on LMGT3. David, do you have any final thoughts on the LMGT3 predictions?
Well, it's always for viewers. I don't know what Jonah has predicted. He obviously knows what I have predicted because he needs to make these graphics. So it's always interesting to see what he does. And funny also to see none of us putting a Porsche in first or second place. Also, just to comment on that, it's not like the LMGT3 hasn't been close in terms of who ended up winning. We obviously saw the Corvettes actually taking pole position in the first race. So the cars are close and competitive. It's just as we are almost used to seeing now, when this happens, the cars being close and competitive, it's a Porsche coming out on top, no matter what the class we're talking about. So I'm hopeful that our prediction is right. I would love to see an Aston Martin up in first place again. It's been a while, but yeah, I'm gonna echo your words and say, yeah, it's probably gonna be a Porsche 1-2.
Yeah, Porsche definitely looks strong. I think that they could definitely be on top here. So we'll definitely see. And I think something else I want to point out as well is that as an American, I would love to see an American car on the top, whether that be from Corvette or Ford. And that could definitely happen. Ford has the lightest car on the grid in LMGT3. The Mustang has proven that it has the ability to take a good result, as proven by Le Mans when it took third and fourth position. That was the best placed team, actually, when it came to Proton competition in LMGT3. What a debut at Le Mans for Ford, honestly. But yeah, I'd love to see an American car on top in this North American endurance race. But unfortunately, neither David or myself have put an American car in the top three. But that doesn't mean that they won't have a good result. Maybe they'll get a top five or something like that. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, a lot of people in the comments are saying Porsche for the win, and honestly, I do see it. I do see Porsche taking another win, considering their form they've had this season. Porsche's taken, I believe, 4 wins, if I'm not mistaken, 4 wins this season, which is just mind-blowing across their 2 entries, with BMW only taking 1. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. So that's our LMGT3 predictions. David, should we move on to our Hypercar predictions?
I think so. Just adding on as well, just as a final note about Porsche. Of course, it's also this 911 GT3 because they were fighting for the win at Nürburgring. They won that Bathurst 1000, I believe it's called, a 12-hour, and they were competitive in general in endurance racing with that car. So I don't know what they do to that GT3 911, but it's crazy fast.
Yeah, for sure. Porsche has been on unbelievable form this year. We could go on and on about their achievements. They've been successful in IMSA. They've been successful in WEC. They've been successful at the Bathurst 12 hour, as you mentioned. They've been successful at the Nürburgring 24 hour. They've been successful in Asian Le Mans series, and so on. We could go on and on. But let's move into the top category now, viewers. Hypercar, of course. I'm going to remove our names and just get all the graphics out on screen. Here we go. Hypercar. Let's talk about the predictions for the Lone Star Le Mans, the 2024 edition of this event. This is for the overall victory as well. David, why don't you start it off? What is your top 3 predictions for the Hypercar category here at COTA?
Well, you did just say we shouldn't talk more about Porsche, but I'm going to continue that talk. because I put Porsche number 6 in first place, and followed by again a Porsche 963. This time the Jota number 12 car, and Toyota finishing third this time with the number 7 car. I see this hopefully being a race where we see Porsche come back on top in WEC Hypercar class. They have been competitive all year round, but in my opinion have gotten a bit too few wins. When we saw the first race of the season, it looked like it was going to be Porsche winning every single race, but it hasn't been like that, and I wish they have a bit more. So yeah, seeing a Porsche Penske in first place would be amazing.
Yeah, I'd like to see that honestly as well, because Porsche Penske is one of my favorite teams, honestly. And they've been extremely competitive this season, been on the podium in, I believe, every single race except Le Mans, which is just unbelievable, absolutely unbelievable. When you head over to IMSA as well, Porsche 963 has been on the podium in every single race. Isn't that just incredible? I don't think we've seen that stat in any of the new categories for IMSA and the WEC when it comes to the top flagship categories. But Porsche Penske has only taken one win this season. That was at the first race in Qatar. And I love to see them back on top. Like I said, they are one of my favorite teams. They follow me on Instagram as well, which is great. And I really want to support them and see them do well. So I agree with your prediction, David. I think Porsche has got a really strong car. I think that they have the ability to win. The number 6 Porsche in first is a very good prediction. The number 12 Porsche from Hertz Team Jota, I like seeing that in second place. They need another strong result. It has not been a pretty good race for Hertz Team Jota for the last 2 rounds in Le Mans or Brazil in Sao Paulo, of course. But we'll see how that goes, of course. So, David, you've predicted your predictions. It's only fair, I guess, that I go with mine now, and we see what I've predicted. As David has mentioned, viewers, he does not know what my predictions are. I, of course, know his because, like he mentioned earlier, I have to put them up on screen and get all the graphics and all that sort of thing. So this is a surprise for him as well. But let me just put up my prediction now. So for me, I usually go with a Porsche on top, but I haven't done that this time, and I usually go bold with my predictions, as many of you know if you've been watching live streams for quite some time. David knows, especially since I predicted Glickenhaus to be on the podium at the Nürburgring. Yeah, here's my prediction. I've gone for the number 50 AF Corsa Ferrari to take the overall victory here at COTA. I think that Ferrari are going to have a very strong race, as proven by my prediction. I do think that the number 6 Porsche is going to be on the podium in second place. I think it's going to be a very close battle for the win. And in third, I have gone for the number 83 Customer AF Corsa Ferrari. So 2 Ferraris on the podium, but not 2 factory entries. And this is something that I feel could honestly happen. You know, for predictions in the past, like I said before, I've gone very bold. I've tried to make something that could potentially happen, but is not likely. This is honestly something that I do see happening. I feel that Ferrari needs another strong result. Sao Paulo is not the result that they were hoping for, of course. The BOP didn't work in their favor. The track didn't work in their favor. I think here at COTA, they're going to have a much stronger weekend. And I think it could go their way. With weather coming in, though, that could also affect things as well. That could change up the order. But we'll definitely see. I do believe that the number 83 Ferrari is going to be on the podium. It's finally time for that car to be on the overall podium. They have had a really strong season. I got to say, they've, of course, almost won Le Mans if they didn't get the penalty and the situation didn't happen with them. They had a really good 24 hours of Le Mans, and I think that this car in particular, with the driver lineup, has been very, very strong all year round. So I think it's time for them to get on the podium and prove that this third Ferrari deserves to be on the grid for 2025. But yeah, overall, I do think the Ferrari are going to take the win, and I think that it's going to be a very close race between Ferrari and Porsche, and I honestly think that Peugeot might have the third fastest car here, and they could be able to get a top 5 result. And that's, I guess, a little bit more of a bold prediction, to be honest.
Yeah, it wouldn't be a Jonah prediction without some sprinkles of
Some sort of.
boldness out there. So. But yeah, interesting. Yeah, it is with these predictions in hypercar. It's always difficult because now I put Porsche and Toyota, and you put Ferrari and Porsche. I could easily also have put a BMW, a Ferrari, a Peugeot. There's so many manufacturers up there, and of course now we aren't gonna see the for sure winners if they were here. Isotta, Franskini, they will not be here. So yeah, I also see Ferrari being up there, but yeah, I hope that when we see a car like at COTA, we have 2 long straights. It's very high pace, and that's also something we saw where the Porsches were really fast. So I have a hard time seeing Ferrari beat them. But yeah, it's going to be a close fight no matter what.
Yeah, I think we're going to get an amazing race here at COTA in both Hypercar and LMGT3. As proven by our predictions, we do think it's going to be a very close race, a very competitive race. As proven before by the previous 6 rounds here at COTA, it has been incredible. It has been very exciting. And we hope to see another exciting race in 2024. So I'm going to quickly remove our predictions here, or at least the graphics at least, and get back to what we usually have on the stream here. Give me one moment. There we go. Okay. Just want to make sure we are back. So I'm seeing a few more comments saying that Ferrari could potentially get a win, Porsche, Toyota, and so on. So a lot of support for those manufacturers, and definitely could get the win here at COTA. I want to see Peugeot up there. I want to see Cadillac up there. I really want to see everybody up there, to be honest. But of course, that's not what's going to happen. But we'll see how it all pans out. COTA, definitely an exciting race. The Lone Star Le Mans kicks off on this weekend. It's going to be Sunday, September 1st, the 1st of September. The race is going to be starting at 1 o'clock local time. So that'll be exciting. A race that I can watch live now instead of having to watch like a little bit of the replay, considering it's so early in the morning for me. I do not want to wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning and watch most of the race. But yeah, so in general, really excited for this race. Really, really exciting times ahead. Of course, the weekend is going to get going very shortly. I believe it starts officially tomorrow, Thursday, as of recording this. Then, of course, we have the qualifying sessions, which will last a couple minutes. You know, we have qualifying and hyperpole for both categories. So overall, 4 complete sessions. And then, of course, the race, which will last a total of 6 hours. And we will go into the night, I believe. We will go into the night. Or at least closer to the night. I think the race is going to be ending around 7 o'clock local time. However, due to the daylight savings time cycle, we're also in the summer as well. We're likely going to get a lot of sun. We should still have the sun setting by the time we end the race. Actually, this is something I want to point out. It wasn't on my mind to discuss, but I think we should probably mention this. In the previous events at COTA, one of the big factors has been the sunset. As proven by one of the qualifying sessions in Formula 1, if I'm not mistaken. I think, I can't remember exactly which one it was. I think it was 2022 when we saw Charles Leclerc going around the lap and the sun was setting. It was a really epic screen. That's for any Formula 1 fans out there. They'll know exactly what I'm talking about. But I wonder if the sunset could affect this race. Like, I wonder if these drivers are going to have to come in for like, they're going to have to prepare beforehand or come in for a different visor, to change, because the sun could potentially cause some interference, I guess, in some way. David, what do you think about that? Do you think the sunset could actually affect this race in some way?
Well, visibility has been, we have seen it before where the sun has been difficult. Le Mans is an obvious choice to talk about it because it's both sunset and sunrise. Iconic moment was in 2011 where the Audi R18 with Benio Trolle, I couldn't see anything out of his screen, having to get a rip off on the screen. So yeah, maybe. It's also something that the teams are aware of. So seeing visor changes and all that, I don't believe we will see that. I do believe that maybe we will hear something on the radio about visibility. But no, I see the race being a battle on the track and not necessarily off the track.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I was just going to point out as well that the sunset, what I'm picturing in my mind is the sunset on kind of where you can see it setting on the main straight or on the main back straight, I guess. I call it the second DRS zone because that's what we're used to saying in Formula One when Formula One comes here. But that's a really, really long straight, and the sun is right in your eyes at that point when the race is kind of ending. So that could be interesting. I've also heard that we could get some rain in the race, so we might not even have to deal with the sunlight at all if there's going to be dark clouds above. So the weather and the visibility, as we've pointed out, could be a factor for sure. Whether it be the sun, whether it be the rain, we could get our second or third rain race of the season. So we'll definitely see. It's going to be very, very fascinating for sure. I just want to, we'll get into more questions in just a little bit. But I did want to point out this. HAFR, Hard Fast Racer Racing asks, but we saw the video of the yellow number 2 Cadillac in the track. I just want to point this out for anybody confused with this. The number 2 Cadillac was spotted out on track testing and it was yellow. This was there was pictures taken of it. It was from Chip Ganassi Racing. If you're wondering what is going on with this, basically that's the IMSA car. When the testing was going on at COTA, Chip Ganassi Racing, who also runs the 01 Cadillac and IMSA, brought that car over for the test and basically rebadged it with the number 2. And had the drivers hop in that car. So that's why it was yellow. That's why it's not the blue Cadillac, and because the blue Cadillac wasn't there. For this race, the blue Cadillac will be here. That yellow Cadillac was only at COTA for that part. And no, we won't get a second Chip Ganassi Cadillac. We won't get any additional IMSA entries, even though that would be really cool. Of course, IMSA isn't racing around this time. The next time we'll have IMSA racing will be at Indianapolis for the 6-hour event of the Battle of the Bricks. That isn't for a while, so technically there could be IMSA entries. This would be the best place to bring them, besides Le Mans, I guess. But there's another factor as well. Not only is it difficult to bring another entry, to get the personnel for it and all that sort of thing, but also IMSA and WEC run different BOP. You'd have to reconfigure the car. This was one of the factors why Chip Ganassi Racing didn't bring over their WEC entry for the Rolex 24 at Daytona earlier this year compared to 2023. Because the car was getting ready for the event in Qatar, but also would need to change over the BOP, and it was just a hassle to bring it over. So, yeah, I just wanted to point it out there because there was some speculation online. I actually explained to a few folks around the community of what's been going on with the number 2 Cadillac. But just to be clear, it is a yellow Cadillac that was there. It is the 01 Cadillac that competes in IMSA, but this car is no longer at the track. It's the blue Cadillac, and that was only something that Chip Ganassi were running during the test.
Yeah. I mean, it would also be quite surprising to see another car on the grid for Lone Star Le Mans. Why we see more cars at Le Mans instead is Le Mans is the better race. It's a bigger race, not necessarily better. It's historical. If you win at Le Mans, it saved your season. So So yeah, seeing additional cars is something, especially we saw it actually last year with Cadillac bringing another car to Spa and Le Mans, Chip Ganassi. So so yeah, but it's not something that we're used to seeing. It is not something that we will see a lot of with these new regulations. And as you mentioned, BUP being a big hassle to just configure the car for each weekend and each
Right.
race is it's already a lot of work, and to do it just because you want one more car for a specific weekend, then it has to be something special. And Lone Star Le Mans, don't get me wrong, is special, it's great, but it's not Le Mans.
True. That's a fair point, and I 100% agree. So yeah, there's no need to bring a second car, honestly, even though we would like that to happen. I do think, just to touch a little bit more on this, that we could see the WEC Lamborghini at Petit Le Mans. I think we could see an additional Lamborghini there. There are no WEC races in October, if I'm not mistaken. The next one would be the 8 Hours of Bahrain in November. And so Lamborghini could, in theory, bring a second car. They have touched on the fact that they could bring a second car for one of the IMSA races, one of the endurance races. I don't see it happening for the event in Indianapolis because of the Fuji race that's also taking place in the month of September. But I could see it happening for October. So just wanted to point that out there as well. But moving on, I think we should probably mention, David, that we are going to be streaming again this weekend, most likely, for the start of the race. This is going to be similar to what we did for the 24 Hours of Le Mans. We're going to try and do these a little bit more often. We saw that a lot of folks were really interested in this like watch-along type of stream. So what we're going to be doing is the live stream starts at 1 o'clock local time. 1 o'clock p.m. local time. That's 1300 hours. What we're going to be doing is streaming about a half an hour before that, talking about the pre-race. We're going to be going into what we think about the event. Then the race is going to start. We're going to stream for a little bit longer, and we're not going to stream the video, of course. We're only going to stream the watch along and maybe a few cars' positions. And we're going to be talking about it as the race begins. Of course, we can't stream the full thing or else I'm going to get copyrighted here on YouTube, and I don't want to deal with that. I also want to respect the WEC. So I just wanted to point that out, though, viewers, that we are going to be streaming this Sunday live of the race for a quick watch-along of the start and pre-race to discuss everything that's going on during Lone Star Le Mans. And we'll try and do these in the future as well for future events.
Yeah, we saw great success with it at Le Mans, and these watch along things. We also did something like it at Nürburgring. Of course, there was a red flag, so watch along part was maybe a bit out of the contention, but yeah, great support for in general our streams, and that makes it more fun. I mean, me and Jonah could talk all day about these things without you watching, but it's just a little bit more fun with you guys, and seeing the support makes it all worth it, taking the time and studying these things. So thank you so much for that, and we hope that you will like these watch along streams, and we'll try to do as many as we can. Of course, we have both school and studies to attend to, but just as you watch us and take your time watching these streams, we'll also use a lot of time on you guys.
Yeah, and I fully agree and echo what David said there. It is hugely appreciated what everybody is doing here. We've gotten so many viewers that have checked in and taken a look at the streams as they go along. As we continued, I've actually kept a note of how many streams we've done. I think this is number 13 or number 14 of live streams that we have done officially. So that's awesome, of course, and we will continue to do so. 2025 will be even cooler with the Rolex 24 and so on. But yeah, it's massively appreciated. And we're also going to be posting this as well as future streams on our Spotify account as well. So that's definitely something to check out if you guys are interested in all that sort of thing. But we're going to be kind of concluding the stream now. If anybody has any further questions related to the WEC, IMSA, endurance racing, or really any questions at all, just let us know down in the comments, and we'll try and answer those. We'll stay here for another 5 or 10 minutes to answer any further questions and discuss what's going on. In terms of the content as well, besides the live streams, there's going to be many more videos coming out. I have a video form of a race preview for COTA, hopefully coming out tomorrow morning. And then I have hopefully another video coming out the further day on Friday, which is a recap of what happened during IMSA's Michelin GT Challenge. Usually I would post that within a few days after the event, but there has been so much to talk about when it comes to the WEC's round at Lone Star Le Mans. I've had to make a couple different videos for it. Me and David have been live streaming as well, so there's a lot to cover when it comes to that, so it's hard to be able to get a full recap as well as a race preview and all the other videos done as well, besides all the future videos that are being planned and being recorded and being in production. Anyway, though, let's get into some of these questions. One of which is from Skeets, who asks, is Hyundai coming to the GTP in IMSA? Well, as of right now, we don't know for a fact that they are coming, but it is very likely that Hyundai will be the next manufacturer to commit to an LMH or an LMDH program. They have been heavily rumored to be returning to or joining the WEC and IMSA. Of course, they are currently in IMSA right now in the support series, the Michelin Pilot Challenge. And it's great to see that Hyundai are in that, but of course, it is not the flagship category. It's not the flagship championship. And of course, it's not the GTP class. So we want to see them return to the top level endurance racing. We want to see them in it. But I don't know. I think we could get an announcement very shortly on Hyundai's participation within the WEC and IMSA. They have expressed a lot of interest in joining for Le Mans. They have expressed a lot of interest in joining an LMDH program. But David, what do you think on this Hyundai news of them potentially joining IMSA and the WEC?
Well, the more the better. I mean, another big manufacturer, and to see another team like that joining would be a great thing, and a great statement also about how these regulations are doing so far. Of course, right now we're going to see Aston Martin joining next year. They have also shown interest in joining in IMSA. Actually, I believe they confirmed that they will do at some point. Starting,
they'll join next year.
Next year, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So for people who want to see, and that's an LMH. That's an LMH in IMSA, the first LMH in IMSA. That's gonna be interesting. So yeah, seeing Hyundai also wanting to join just is another example of how these GTP, LMDH, and LMH regulations from WEC and IMSA is really working. So yeah, it's gonna be tough to see how many places we have left, because the ruling is for the WEC to have 2 cars now if you have to compete. So if there is space, I believe Hyundai will be the next team after Aston Martin. But yeah, right now I'm focusing on that new V12 Aston Martin coming, and just being excited. If I were to speculate into every single new team coming, there's so many, but it's so nice to see so much hype about it. And Hyundai is a manufacturer that has been interested since the very dawn of these regulations. So yeah, I believe that we will see it at some point. Maybe not next year, but in a few years' time.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that it's definitely their interest in these regulations have definitely been hyped even more due to the fact that these regulations have been extended till at least 2029, proving that they are working, of course, that they are a success. And so I definitely think that Hyundai could be joining the WEC and IMSA very, very soon. And with Chip Ganassi Racing, the team, of course, that is parting ways with Cadillac. But anyway, moving on. We were talking about Aston Martin's new car, and this kind of ties us in perfectly to the next question. Razvan asks, who, you know when Aston Martin will race their car? This is a quick, I'll make this quick, considering there's more questions as well. But Aston Martin are racing full-time in the WEC, with 2 cars. That's officially confirmed with Heart of Racing. As for IMSA, we know that they are going to be competing in 2025, yet it is unconfirmed whether they're only going to be racing in the Michelin Endurance rounds like Lamborghini is doing, or they're going to be racing full-time. Obviously, I prefer them to race full-time. That way I can see them in my home state of California at Long Beach and Laguna Seca, and get some content, of course, on the Valkyrie LMH. But yeah, this is such an exciting time for IMSA to have Aston Martin joining the top category. David, you mentioned just a moment ago that they are bringing an LMH. This is a car that's never raced in IMSA before. And this kind of proves any doubters that were thinking that the LMH is not allowed in IMSA, because we've seen kind of a few comments that have come in over the years that say that, oh, LMH is not coming to IMSA, or they think that LMH isn't coming to the American racing, but this is incorrect. The LMH cars are allowed to race in IMSA. It's just never really happened yet, and now it's happening. So the Le Mans Hypercars will be officially coming over in 2025 with Aston Martin, the Valkyrie LMH. Only 1 car is racing. We know for a fact that there will be 3 Valkyrie LMH entries next season across IMSA and the WEC. 2 in the WEC, 1 in IMSA, of course, as I mentioned. But yeah, just an extremely exciting time. It's a first for a lot of things. First LMH to come to IMSA, the first British manufacturer to commit to these regulations, the first car to have a V12 engine with these regulations, and also this car does not have a hybrid component, and this is the first big manufacturer to not have a hybrid component. And it's, I keep saying first, but there's a lot of them. This is also the first manufacturer to convert a pre-existing road car into a Le Mans Hypercar, which can be done with these LMH regulations, which is just fantastic. It's absolutely incredible. And yeah, I can't express how excited I am for IMSA to have the Aston Martin branding back in the top class, and for the WEC to also see the return of Aston Martin. The last time we saw them compete in top prototype endurance racing at Le Mans was in 2011 with the AMR Pro, I believe, if I'm not, sorry, not AMR Pro, the AMR 1, if I'm not mistaken. I can't remember the exact name of the car. It was a car that was only here for like a specific amount of time. It was not successful. But yeah, Aston Martin are back. They are officially back at Le Mans. Of course, they have quite the history at Le Mans, having run in the 1950s with the many cars. And of course, the most successful was the DBR1, which won Le Mans in 1959. And then they raced in Group C with Lola, and then no, not with Lola. They raced in Group C, and then they came back to prototype endurance racing in the 2000s with Lola. That's what I was saying. Anyway, though, and this actually is a question I think, David, that you will like. And this is probably one of our last because we are on limited time.
Yeah.
This question says, "Hey, Jonah and David, who do you will be the drivers at the?" Oh, okay. Which drivers will be in the Valkyrie in IMSA and the WEC? David, this is a question I think that you will enjoy, considering there's a lot of Danish drivers that could potentially be on the roster there.
Yeah. We obviously have 2 of like Aston Martin's like core drivers in Nicky Tim and Marco Sørensen. So 2 extremely fast drivers, and already I believe that Nicky Tim has been working with Heart of Racing in their GT3 class. Aston Martin, so there is a likelihood of seeing him drive, but also I see Darren Turner could be a driver. A lot of these drivers that we used to see, like we did with some of these newer manufacturers in the hypercar their GT3 cars or their GT drivers coming up and driving these hypercars. The cars, as we've heard from the drivers, are very much like a GT, just bigger, faster, more downforce. But feeling wise, while driving is the same. So you could expect to see some of these GT3 or GT Pro, former GT Pro drivers come up and drive for Aston Martin. I will, of course, hope for Marcus Sørensen and Niki Team to take the seat in at least one of them. That would be very likely, considering their history with Aston Martin. But yeah, a strong lineup. It's also fun to see now because there is so many manufacturers racing in the top class all of a sudden. So many of these drivers are limited now. They are really, these fast drivers that can race these cars are hard to find. And if you haven't jumped the gun and started out in Hypercar when it was still very small, like we saw Toyota and actually Aston Martin do back in the day, back in the start of these regulations, then you will be behind. So I'm interested to see who will sign for Aston Martin, but I see the Danish drivers, but also if Formula One and Daddy Stroll finally will say it's over for Lance, I could see him join the Hypercar program instead. But that's just speculations. I would like to see that also for Formula One's sake, and I actually believe he would be quite competitive in the WEC field.
Okay, so I've been thinking while David has been discussing his thoughts on the drivers, and I'm just going to point this out here. I think there are 6 drivers that in my mind, that could get the seat in the Aston Martin cars. 2 of them are drivers that David has already mentioned, Niki Team and Marco Sorensen. 2 drivers that I think that are just automatically in that roster. The other 4 are kind of outside, but I could see definitely happening. One of them is those 2 drivers' teammate in the 24 Hours of Spa race when they won, Mattia Druidi. I think Druidi could be a driver that could definitely be in that car, in the Valkyrie. Yeah, we'll see. I think another driver that could be there is Alex Riberas, who has been a Heart of Racing driver. Of course, Heart of Racing running the team. I could see a lot of drivers from their roster in IMSA and the WEC stand up into the hypercar categories. I would expect that to almost be certain. And then the other 2 drivers are kind of, they're not really part of Aston Martin, but are kind of in the mix here. And I think that they could potentially get rides. One of them is Harry Tincknell. Tincknell is racing for Proton Competition currently, but has been testing the Valkyrie because he's a Multimatic partner. I think that he can make the switch from Porsche to Aston Martin next year and potentially run in either the WEC or IMSA. There has been heavy rumors that Nico Mueller, who has left Peugeot, is going to be going to Proton Competition. And I think he could be a suitable replacement for Harry Tincknell if Tincknell moves over to Aston Martin. And then another driver, which actually I feel like he's kind of been forgotten, to be honest, Gustavo Menezes. Menezes was also a driver, a part of Peugeot, is American. I think that he could end up in one of the cars. Honestly, I think he could end up in the WEC car because of his participation in the WEC with Rebellion, with Peugeot, etc. So I could definitely see Menezes a part of that lineup as well with Aston Martin. So those are just 6 drivers that I think that could be part of it. There's also drivers, like you mentioned, David, Darren Turner, that could potentially be up there. A few more Aston Martin racers like Roman DeAngelis that could be a part of that lineup through Heart of Racing. So there's a lot of speculation. We could go on and on about potential drivers for Aston Martin for sure. But yeah, I think we'll probably end here off because we've gotten over an hour into the stream. We don't want to make it too long, of course. But yeah, that's our kind of pre-race details over the Lone Star Le Mans weekend coming up. The WEC is back for a round in the United States of America. We are back at COTA. We are back in the United States of America for the first time since 2023 when we raced in Sebring, of course. But yeah, really excited for this weekend. It's gonna be unknown. It could definitely go the way of Porsche. It could definitely go the way of Ferrari. It could definitely go the way of Toyota. It could go the way of Peugeot. Who knows? That's what makes this event so exciting. Is we don't really know exactly who's going to be on top, and that's what makes the WEC also so entertaining. David, do you have any final thoughts before we kind of conclude this stream?
Nothing other than I just saw a very funny comment of Fernando Alonso as a potential driver for Aston Martin. I don't see that happening. He has done what he should in WEC. But yeah, of course I would love it, no doubt. But yeah, other than that, just again, as always, thankful for people watching and looking forward to the next stream, watch along at Lone Star Le Mans.
Yeah, that will be next. Viewers, join us for, I believe, we're going to be starting around this time, actually, on Sunday. We're going to be starting around 10:30 a.m. PDT. That's going to be around, I think, 12:30 p.m. local time for the Lone Star Le Mans race in Austin, Texas. We're going to be covering a watch-along and discussing what is going on Sunday for the event. Really excited for that one, of course. But David, thank you so much for joining me once again for the stream. Viewers, thank you so much for coming in and watching what we had to offer for this race preview style format for the upcoming Lone Star Le Mans. Enjoy the race weekend, of course. It's definitely going to be exciting for those actually going to the event. Have a wonderful weekend. It's going to be absolutely incredible as COTA always provides incredible racing and an incredible atmosphere. Same with the WEC as well. So, yeah, anyway, viewers, thank you so much for joining. I'm formulajonah. That's David, and we're signing off for now. Tune in Sunday for our watch-along at around this time for another event.